Susie. Janice Bracken is on there.
Huh.
Oh, there we are.
מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב.
Hands together.
הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב.
Here we go.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. How about in the sanctuary? Let's hear it. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Pretty good, pretty good. Let's hear it again. Ready? Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right. And for those of you who are joining us via Facebook Live or Zoom, let's hear it. Shabbat Shalom. Very good. Very, very good. We heard you loud and clear. Friends, this is the new age of bar and bat mitzvahs with COVID. And here we have a family and community and safe numbers in the sanctuary, masked and socially, physically distant, but also we have a plethora of online participants for the bat mitzvah service, vis-a-vis Facebook Live or Zoom, and we are catering to it all. This is all part of the community that we have here at Temple Emanu-El. So if you're joining us online, the Facebook feed has pinned the service to the page, so you can follow it that way. If you're in the sanctuary, your red Siddur is the prayer book that we're going to be using. It's pretty easy to use. On the right, you have the Hebrew. On the left, you have the English. And in the in-between space in the middle, you have the transliteration. Snaps, taps, claps, la-la-las. Those are all great for the service. God understands la-la-la just fine. But that's not just tongue-in-cheek. So Molly is leading us in our service today, but the energy that she gets from us is going to help determine how this experience is for her and her family and for you. So it's really important that you participate in any way that you can and any way that you're comfortable. Some introductions. Next to me is Rabbi Rachel Klein-Miller. I'm Rabbi Spike Anderson. I think everybody knows Molly Marcus and Sister Annie and Dad Seth and Mom Peggy. I think you all know each other, but if not, just give each other a little wave. Hello and Shabbat Shalom, right? If you're joining us vis-a-vis Facebook, you can type in a Mazel Tov to the Marcus family and a Shabbat Shalom. We'll call out page numbers as we go. We're on page 4 for Hine Ma Tov. It is so good for us to be together.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יננאי, יננננננאי. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. יננאי, יננננננאי.
Here we go.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
Molly, there are, friends, if you'll steal your cell phones as we get started, make sure your cell phones are off. So Molly, on this day, the Shabbat day, as you're leading us in services, your mom and I just had a quick talk beforehand, decided to postpone it another 6 months. Is that okay with you? Dad overruled it, so we're going to keep going with it. So that the bat mitzvah, there are a number of benchmarks or signposts along the way to know that you are in the process of becoming a Jewish adult literally in the next 90 minutes. We commemorate your becoming a Jewish woman in the eyes of the community. So one of the benchmarks for this rite of passage, because that's what it is, the Jewish rite of passage, is the tallis or talit. And according to tradition, you were not allowed to wear the talit last year, last month, last week, even this morning. You could do it privately, but not publicly. But now, as a sign of you becoming a Jewish woman, you will be presented your talit, and you're going to be presented by your great-grandfather, Irving Lipsky, who's going to present you with this in a moment. And Irv will tell you how to do that in just a moment, okay? Following that, you'll say the prayer of the tallis, and Mom and Dad will actually drape it over your shoulders. So, Mr. Lipsky, in front of you, you'll see the reading. You see the reading in front of you? Okay. And that microphone right in front of you will also pick up everything that you say. And, sir, when you are ready, if you would present the tallis.
Greetings, everyone. As this tallit is draped around your shoulders, may the voices of generations speak to you. May you know that there is people, a rich heritage to which you belong, and sacred place for which you have connected to all who dwell on earth. As you are embraced in the folds of this tallit, so too are you wrapped in the loving embrace of your family, community, and the whole congregation. May this simplest of garments always be for you a symbol of God's abiding and sheltering presence. As you recite the blessing and wrap yourself in this tallit, we proudly watch and celebrate with you as you accept your place in the chain of your tradition.
Okay, and now Molly, you'll say the blessing over the tallis, which you'll find on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef b'tzitzi.
We say amen.
Amen.
Okay, and Mom and Dad are going to drape tallis around you. Fix hair. Okay, now get nice and close. Okay, now Annie, will you come nice and close to Mom for a second? Okay. Friends, family, we know that families and communities come together for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes there's sad reasons. Today, super happy, super joyful. So when we Jews know that we are in the midst of a special type of time, a sacred type of time, we sing our Shehechianu prayer. Literally, thank you, God, for allowing us to be here, breathing together. And may we have this type of holiness, this type of sacredness, again and again and again. Page 5, please join us for Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu l'zman hazeh.
Dad and sister, you can have a seat. Molly, you're going to lead us on page 6.
God be with me on this occasion of my bat mitzvah. Help me make meaningful the covenant you now establish with me. Sustain me with a sense of holiness. Inspire in me a desire to be special. I do not ask that you make my life easy, resolve my problems, map out the directions of my life. I ask only that you strengthen within me the desire to mold and shape my life in accordance with your will. In this hour of my bat mitzvah, I invoke your blessings upon my parents and friends and all who have loved and cared for me and have brought me to this time of gladness. Give them joy and fulfillment in my growth and my achievement. You who turn the hearts of children to their parents and the hearts of parents to their children.
Very good. So now, Molly, in a moment you're going to lead us in Ashrei, Psalm 145, which is on page 10. Ashrei, Molly, is a prayer about gratitude. It's a prayer of being mindful of the things around us that we can and probably should be grateful for, rather than having our head looking at the ground all the time. This is a prayer that encourages us to look up and stop and open our eyes and breathe to the world and the life that we have around us. Would you lead us responsibly on page 10?
Ashrei yoshvei veitecha, odi hallelujah selah.
Ashrei ha'am shetrach lo, Ashrei ha'am sh'Adonai Elohai.
Tehillah leDavid, aromimcha Elohai hamelech, v'avarcha shimcha leolam va'ed.
B'chol yom avarchecha, v'halala shimcha le'olam va'ed.
Gadol Adonai umhuol me'od, v'lig dulato ein cheker.
Dor yishabach ma'asecha, u'gvurotecha yagidu.
Hadar kivod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha.
Ve'ezuz norotecha yomeru, u'dulatcha asaprena.
Zecherav tuvcha yabiu, v'tzidkatcha yiranenu.
Chanun berachum Adonai, erech apayim udol chased.
Tov Adonai lakol, v'rachamav ol kol ma'asav.
Yodu Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasnidecha yevarchucha.
Kevod malchutecha yomeru, ugvratcha yidaberu.
V'hodia lifnei ha'adam gvurotav, u'chvod hadam malchuto.
Malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha bechol dor v'ador.
Somech Adonai l'chol hanoflim, v'zokef l'chol hakfufim.
Einei kol elecha yisaberu, ve'ata noten lahem et ochlam be'ito.
Poteach et yadecha, u'maspi l'chol chai ratzon.
Tzadik Adonai b'kol derachav, v'chasid b'chol ma'asav.
Karov Adonai l'chol korav, l'chol asher yikra'uhu be'emet.
Tretzon yirei aya aseh, ve'et shavatam yishma v'yoshiem.
Shomer Adonai et kol ohavav, ve'et kol harshaim yashmi.
Tehillah Adonai yidaber pi, v'yivarech kol basar shem kodsho le'olam va'ed.
Va'anachnu nevarech Yah, me'atcha ve'ad olam. Hallelujah.
Okay, Molly, will you lead us on page 13 responsively, which means, folks, when we get to the italics, we all join in.
May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for fellowship.
May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture.
May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride.
May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet.
May it be too high to admit indifference, selfishness, and harshness.
May the synagogue be for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. We rise for the Baruch Hu on page 15. This Baruch Hu prayer is the prayer that says, we are warmed up, we are ready, Hineni, put me in, coach. Take it away, please, page 13. 15.
Yai, my, 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 my. Yai, my, 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 my. Yai, my, 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 my. Yai, my, 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 my. Yai, my, 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 my. Yai, my, 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 my. Yai, my, 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 my.
inside cover, you'll see the evening Ma'ariv Aravim prayer. Molly will lead us in this prayer in a moment. This prayer, Ma'ariv Aravim, talks about the Jewish day, which of course starts at night. And that each evening, each new day that we have, Molly, we have a chance to recreate ourselves and start anew. That we can influence through our decisions and through our choices, our atmosphere, our home, our community, and even the world around us. Ma'ariv Aravim, Molly, is a prayer that says that we're not locked in to what happened yesterday or last week or last year. That we have choices and we have options up to us. Please lead us in Ma'ariv Aravim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chochma poteach she'arim uvitvuna meshanei itim umachalif et hazmanim umesader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla bolel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or uma'avir yom umevi layla Umavdil ben yom uvein laila Adonai tzvaot shemo El chai v'kayam tamid Yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
Amen. Amen. In a moment, you'll lead us on page 16 with Ahava Rabbah. Ahava Rabbah talks about God's great love for us as a people, but also for you as an individual. And here your parents, Seth and Peggy, have 2 kids, right? Sister Annie and you. And you are both very different from each other. Very different. You're very different people. And your mom and dad love you to infinity and beyond. There's really no limit to the love that they have for each of you. The love that they have for each of you does not exclude the love that they have for the other one as well. There's more than enough love to go around. And that's essentially what this prayer is reminding us of or teaching us, that God's love for us is infinite and that there is more than enough to go around for every single person and every single set of peoples. Will you lead us in Ahava Rabbah on page 16?
Ahava Rabbah ahavtanu Adonai Eloheinu Chemla gedola v'teira chamalta aleinu va'avor avotenu ve'imotenu shebatchu v'cha v'atlamdem chukei chayim ken tichonenu utlamdenu amrachem rachem aleinu v'ten belibenu lehavin ul haskil lishmoa lilmod ulilamed lishmor v'la'asot ul kayem et kol divrei Talmud Toratecha be'ahava Baruch atah Adonai habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Okay, good. And I'm going to ask you to shift to your right and use the other microphone. Okay, that way your online folks can hear you. So now, Molly, your feet are on the ground, right? Make sure your feet are on the ground. We're all going to take a nice deep breath together and get ready for our Shema, which you'll find on page 18. Hands over our eyes.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad 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 Baruch shekevod malchuto le'olam va'ed.
We can be seated. Small, in a moment, you'll lead us in our Via Hafta prayer, which is part of the Shema. It's the second part of the Shema. And the Via Hafta prayer asks in it a pretty deep question, a profound question, a theological question. Although the question is that it asks is, when is it the right time, or when should we be focused on our Judaism, oriented towards our Judaism? When should we sort of keep God at the forefront? When is it that we should do the right thing? 3 variations of the same question. And the answer that it gives in here at first seems like it's a pretty good answer. It says, well, when you sit down and when you stand up, when you're walking, when you're at home, in other words, always. Seems like a good answer. Except for it's really hard to do anything meaningful and mindfully always. Always is a tall order. So actually what this prayer ends up doing is it reminds us that we have reminders. We have reminders to bring us back to our best potential selves, to bring us to the mindset where we can accomplish the most, be the very best of who we are. What are these reminders? This is on the door, your seat. The Shabbat candles in your home, some of the Judaica around your house or your school, your time at Bluestock, right? There are lots of ways to remind yourself and be reminded that you can be so much better than we are in any individual moment. Would you lead us in V'ahavta, Molly, on page 18?
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzovecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatan levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha v'itecha uvleftecha b'derech v'shofbecha uvkumecha uvshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha uvtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kiddoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Okay, Annie, will you come on up and with that handheld mic lead us on page 19 responsibly.
Adonai our God, you took us out of slavery in Egypt. You made us free.
You were in the courage with which we overcame 40 years of desert wandering.
Even today, you are in the hope that, like a beam of light, brightens the darkness of suffering and despair.
You were in the love that creates, protects, forgives.
Standing at the sea, we felt your goodness and your love, and we sing a new song to you, and still today we sing that song.
We praise you, Adonai, Redeemer of Israel. V'chamocha, page 20. We join in singing what the Israelites proclaimed after they had successfully crossed the sea. We find in their redemption the strength to seek our own. This struggle carries us into the Amidah, a prayer of becoming, of transformation, divine human partnership that brings grace into our lives and into our world. Please rise for our Amidah on page 21.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim v'Konei Hakol, V'Zover Hastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahavam, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah. Atagi bor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atarav le'hoshia, Mori ha'atal, Mechokel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Zomech noflim v'roveh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot, Umido melach, Melech meimid, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'neman atah chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol.
I'd like to invite up Cameron Stein and Lily and Logan Halls to lead us on page 23 of our reading. So you'll come right up to that chorus microphone. Put your feet as close as you can to the T. You're going to lead us responsively.
Many are the ways of holiness, varied are its paths.
There is holiness when we strive to be true to the best we know.
There is holiness when we are kind to others.
There is holiness when we strive for harmony in all of our relationships.
There is holiness when people of different backgrounds work together for a common future.
There is holiness when people seek justice and struggle for righteousness.
There is holiness when people create lasting poetry or song or free laws.
There is holiness when we forget what divides us and remember what unites us.
Holy, holy, holy is Adonai our God.
Dushak, page 24.
Nekadesh Shimcha Ba'olam, Keshem Shemati Shemo Tobishmema, Kakatu Haya Niriecha, V'kartan Zel Zerema, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech Kol Haaretz, Kevodo, Adir Adirinu Adonai Adirinu, Adishim Kavod Haaretz, Baruch Kevod Adonai Mikomo. Echad hu Eloheinu, hu Avinu Avinu, hu Moshiach Yashienu, V'rachamav v'hinei kol chai, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Yimloch Adonai Le'olam, Elohai Yitzion, V'dor v'dor, Hallelujah.
Page 25.
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor na'gigarecha, L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor na'gigarecha, U'lenetzach netzachim, K'nishamtecha na'tish, K'nishamtecha na'tish, V'shivcha Elohim mipinu lo yamish, V'nush le'olam va'er. Come to your part, L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
L'dor v'dor,
25 in our responsive reading.
From of old, the Jewish people have seen Shabbat as a unique gift, a token of its covenant with God.
Shabbat is the most cherished creation of the Jewish spirit and mirrors the essence of the Jewish soul.
Shabbat has never been merely a day of rest from labor. It has always been a break in the routine of everyday life.
Shabbat is a symbol of liberation and triumph, the holy over the profane, spirit over matter.
In every age, Shabbat afforded the Jew a sacred retreat, a haven of safety, a fountain of new strength and perpetual renewal.
Shabbat nurtures family life and love and harmony. A home at peace welcomes Shabbat with joy.
Shabbat is part of nature's design, the very purpose of creation. All that was created attained its fulfillment in Shabbat.
Shabbat is our hope, the calm haven where all the weary find rest. With the coming of Shabbat, redemption and peace into the world. As we get ready for our Yismachu on page 26, you are a bar or bat mitzvah kid who is here getting credit. This is where you let us know who you are on your Facebook feed and what you're thankful for this Shabbat, grateful for this Shabbat. All right, friends, Arakas Yismachu on page 26. I'd like to invite up cousin Ari Sklar to lead us on page 27.
Our world is full of wonders and miracles, but all it takes is one little hand placed before our eyes and we see nothing.
The miracles are all around us and within us, everybody. We are each walking miracles.
When we are bruised, what miracle heals us? When we see beauty, what miracle elevates us? When we hear music, what miracle moves us?
When we see suffering, what miracle saddens us? When we give and receive love, what miracle warms us? When we pray, what miracle renews us?
Every springtime is a miracle. Every snowflake is a miracle. The thoughts we think, the words we speak, the hopes we cherish, each is a miracle.
For all these miracles, may your name be exalted and blessed forever, ever. I'd like to invite up Sammy and Oliver Strentz to this on page 28.
Our God, we know there is no greater gift than peace. Help us to find the peace that comes from the love of your Torah.
Inspire us to banish hatred, war, bloodshed, and bigotry.
Help us to establish forever one human family, doing your will in love and peace.
Help us to find peace in ourselves and among all people. O God of peace, bless us with peace.
You have given us the power, O God, to bring peace and justice into the world. May we always love peace and pursue it, and love our fellow creatures.
Fill us with kindness, wisdom, and love. Then shall we learn to live in peace. Blessed is God, teacher of peace.
Page 28, Shalom.
Sim shalom, tova uberacha. Chaim v'chesed v'rachamim. Chaim v'chesed v'rachamim. Sim shalom, tova. Sing shalom, tova uveracha.
I'd like to invite everybody for a moment of silent reflection, meditation, prayer, communion. Strange is our situation here on earth. Each of us has come for a short visit, not knowing why, yet sometimes seeming to divine a purpose. From the standpoint of daily life, however, there is one thing we do know, that we are here for the sake of humanity, for the countless unknown souls with whose fates we are connected by a bond of sympathy. Many times a day, I realize how my own outer and inner life is built on the labors of my fellow human beings, both living and dead, and how earnestly I must exert myself in order to give and return as much as I have received and am still receiving.
Shalom Aleinu ve'Yamkol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'Yamkol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'Yamkol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'Yamkol
Molly, I'm going to invite up your mom and dad, Sarah and Peggy, to share the words that are titled The Parent Blessing on page 31.
Hello.
These are words that are
Yes,
taken
I love it. I
from
know who
various
is it.
places in the Talmud.
And she's got one thing on
Those
her mind.
rabbis were also parents, and these
So
are
just-
the rules they impart through the tradition.
You understand? Yes.
to us today.
May you live to see your world fulfilled. May your destiny be for worlds still to come. And may you trust in generations past and yet to be.
May your heart be filled with intuition, your words be filled with insight. May songs of praise ever be upon your tongue, and your vision be on a straight path before you.
May your eyes shine with the light of holy words, and your face reflect the brightness of the heavens. May your lips ever speak wisdom, and your fulfillment be in righteousness.
A Jewish home opens its heart, and its link to the generations is proclaimed. Today, our child, nearly grown, is called to read from the Torah and is welcomed into the congregation. May this moment be blessed.
Amen. Hug, hug. It's just.
And we rise now for our Torah service on page 32.
And is Seth ready? Seth and Peggy, I'll have you go back over. And Seth, when you get over there, you feel comfy, go ahead and pick up our Torah. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah, ki mitzion teitzei Torah, udevar Adonai mirushalayim, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch shenatan Torah, Torah, le'amo Yisrael, b'kedushato. So Molly, in just a few moments, your dad and your mom are going to pass the Torah to you. Obviously, this will be quite literal, and this is a metaphor for all of the teachings that they've given you up to this point, that you will continue to carry with you into your life. But it didn't start with them. There's grandparents behind them, great-grandparents behind them, great-great, going all the way around this room. Go ahead and imagine them. Have them smiling at you. Of course, as a past president, Steve's presence is fully with you in this moment, in this passing of our tradition. So at this time, Seth, if you will have Peggy give a hug and a kiss to our Torah. And now go ahead and pass it to Mom. Molly, when you get nice and comfy, look at me. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shemo, Gadol Adonai Iti, Unerom Nema Shemo, Yachdav. Now the family can undress the Torah. Lecha Adonai Hagidula, Hagivura, V'hatiferet, V'hanetzach V'ha'od, Ki ho b'shamayim u'va'aretz, Ki ho b'shamayim u'va'aretz, Lecha Adonai ha'mamlecha, V'amit na'aseh lechol ve'rosh.
Please be seated. So, in a moment, Molly is going to be chanting for us from various parts of Parshat Bamidbar, which is Numbers. This is not the Torah portion for this Shabbat. This is the Torah portion from her original date. When was that? May? So we didn't think it was fair to Molly or any of the other kids who had to postpone their bar or bat mitzvah due to COVID to relearn pieces of the Torah. And frankly, any of the Torah parshiot in any particular week is poignant and relevant to our lives and how we live. So a word about the process here. I suspect that many of you, all of you, have been to a bar bat mitzvah or two or more. And you may forget, if you knew, how much work goes into doing what Molly is about to do. Literally years of study, years, Molly, to learn a language which is not native to you, or at least how to read it, to decode it, to decipher it, and then to be able to chant in the original, from the scroll, without vowels, without musical cantillation. It's incredible. In addition to that, following her Torah reading, Molly will be giving her drash or davar Torah, which is her interpretation of the words that she has chanted and how it relates to the people in the Torah, us as a society, and she as an individual. This is a very big deal that you're doing this. Anytime, yes, but in these times especially so. This is what keeps us grounded. This is our Tzur Yisrael, our rock on which we can stand firmly even when the world twists and turns. So with that, I'll pass it to Rabbi Rachel.
Yes, and friends, I had a little error here, and that is that I did not, when we say names out loud, we bring great honor to them. And so, of course, I need to recognize great-grandfather Irving, who is here, Arlene Marcus, Jeannie Stein, and Mark Stein. And as I mentioned, in blessed memory, Steve Marcus. And with that under our belt, it is my honor to call forward for our first Aliyah, Myra Marcus, Amy Strent, and Craig Strent. Ya'amdu, Miriam Aviva bat Ezra Solomon Esther, Chana bat Moshe v'Shoshana, Yaakov ben Yoel v'Rachel la'Aliyah.
You'll find our Torah blessings before and after on page 34.
Baruch Adonai HaMarach,
Baruch Adonai HaMarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe, B'midbar Sinai be'ohel moed be'echad, L'chodesh hasheni, B'shana hashenit, L'tzetam, me'eretz Mitzrayim le'mor, De'u, et rosh kol adat b'nei Yisrael, Lemishpechotam levei avotam, B'mispar shemo, Kol zachar legolgilotam. Niven esrim shana v'mala, Kol yotzei tzava b'Yisrael, Tifkedu otam, Litzvotam atavel haron. Vitchem yihiyu ish lamate ish, Rosh levei avotav hu. Ve'ele shemot ha'anashim, Asher ya'amdu itchem, Lir Uven, Elitzur ben Shideur, Lashimon, Shlumiel ben Suri Shaddai.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And our blessing for after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, kechayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Blow her an air kiss and an air hug.
All right, it's a good thing I got on their good side. It's my honor now to call up Molly's grandparents, Arlene Marcus, Jeannie Stein, and Mark Stein for our second Aliyah. Ya'amdu, Esther bat Yitzhak ve'Elka Deborah, Shana bat Yaakov v'Chana, Moshe ben Yisrael ve'Rivka, the Aliyah.
Baruch Adonai HaMarach.
Baruch Adonai HaMarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'nasan lanu es Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Lihuda, Nachshon ben Aminadav, Le'Yisachar, Netanel ben Su'ar, Lizvulun, Eliav ben Chelon, Livnei Yosef, Le'Ephraim, Elishama ben Amihud, Limnashe, Gamliel ben Pidatzor, Levin Yonim, Avidan ben Gidoni, Le'edan, Achiezer ben Amishadai, Le'asher, Pagiel ben Ochran, Le'gad, Eliasaph ben Deuel, Le'Naftali, Achira ben Enan, Ele Keru'e Ha'edah, Nesi'e Matot Avotam, Rashe, Alfei Yisrael, Hem.
Wonderful. A blessing for after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emes, v'chayei olam natan b'sachenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Air hugs and blowing of kisses. Thank you so much.
Seth, all set?
All right, and so don't go too far. That's the perfect spot to go. Beautiful. As it is my honor to call forward Molly's parents, Peggy and Seth Marcus, for the third Aliyah. Ya'amdu Leah bat Moshe v'Shoshana Shlomo Baruch ben Ezra Shalom ve'Esther la'Aliyah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe ve'el Aharon lemor. Naso et rosh b'nei kehat mitoch b'nei Levi lemishvichotam leve avotam miven shloshim shana v'amala ve'ad ben chamishim shana kolba latzava la'asot melacha be'ohel moed.
Wonderful. A blessing after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'toheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. And you have the privilege to do real hugs and real kisses. And Molly, with that, make sure your yad is right where you need it to be, and then I'll invite you to take a seat so that for the first time, we get to formally call you to the Torah for an aliyah. Aliyah literally meaning to go up, and so if you're already standing there in this big moment, it doesn't feel as big unless you really walk up there. So we have you sit down. Take a little rest for a moment. And as you ascend back to the bima, this is that moment with those 10, 15, 20 steps that you move from a girl of our congregation to a woman of our congregation. Ta'amad in lana bracha bat Shlomo Baruch v'leah la'aliyah. Blessing.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Zot avodat b'nei kehat be'ohel moed, kodesh hakodashim. Uva Aharon uvanav binso hamachane, v'horidu et parochet hamasach, v'chesuva et aron ha'edu, v'natenu alav kesui or tachash, ufarasu beged kelil, techelet milmala, v'samu badav.
Wonderful. Our blessing for after.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mom and Dad to come on up. I'm going to ask everyone to rise. Peggy and Seth, if you'll put a hand on a shoulder, one of Molly's shoulders for a moment. So we're going to, Molly, give you a special, beautifully done. We're going to give you a special Misha Barak prayer for your continued spiritual development. The idea and the hope is that today and what led up to today is a spiritual cornerstone for you, Molly. Something that you can look back upon and identify easily in time of need and push off of to go wherever it is that you're going to be going. Do it in Hebrew and then in English. Yishaberach Avotenu Vimotenu, Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah, Uyavarech Et, Ilana Brocha, Bat Shlomo Baruch, Leah, Shahagia Lemitzvot LaAllah LaTorah, Akadosh Baruch Hu, Yismireha V'chayeha, V'chonon Et Liba, V'yot Shalem Im Adonai Eloheha. Lago Batorah Tov Lelecha Bidrachav V'lishmor Mitzvotav, V'tim Sechem, V'seichel Tov, V'nei Elohim, V'dam V'nomar.
Amen.
May God, who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless you, Molly. Come up for an aliyah upon the age of mitzvot. May the Holy One guard you and sustain you, helping you to be wholehearted in your faith, studying God's Torah, walking in God's ways, and fulfilling God's mitzvot. May you, Molly, find favor before God and all people. Let us say,
Amen.
Amen. Okay, so Seth and Peggy, if you will roll the Torah up, and you're going to place the cover on the top. Everybody can be seated. Okay, Molly, you're going to get out your Devar Torah. This is Molly's drash. It's really a sermon where she talks about what she has read and puts it into a particular light that is uniquely hers. Whenever you're ready.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My Torah portion is Parshat Bamidbar from the book of Numbers. In this portion, God instructs Moses to take a census of all the Israelite males over the age of 20 who are able to bear arms. Picture this. You are Moses. You've been in the desert with the Israelite people for just over a year, and 1 month ago you set up the sanctuary. You see 603,550 men divided into 12 tribes, all looking up to you, kind of like how all of you are looking at me right now, including all of you on Zoom. Your job is to help God develop a plan to ensure the Israelites are ready to defend themselves. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but much of my Torah portion is naming the 12 tribes. In the process of conducting this census, one tribe is singled out to have special responsibilities. I know you're all on the edge of your seats waiting to hear which tribe it is. That's right, it was the Levites. The tribe of Levi was separated from the rest of the Israelites not to be warriors, but to care for the services and security of the newly built sanctuary. The main job of the Levites was to dismantle the sanctuary and then rebuild it whenever the Israelites moved in the desert. They make special mention that all objects of the sanctuary were to be covered with dolphin skin or special colored cloth. Why did they choose dolphin skin? I have no idea. Even though the Israelites physically did these things, their real job was to actually look out for the spiritual lives of the community. They needed to make sure that everyone's unique path and connection with God was able to stay strong throughout the hardships of the desert. Amongst the Levites, there was a super specialized elite clan named the Kohathites. Their special assignment was to tend to the most sacred objects, in particular, the ark containing the 10 Commandments. While the rest of the Levites were taking care of the sanctuary's physical structure, the Kohathites were taking care of the most sacred objects. There are many important lessons that we can learn from this Torah portion, one of which is that every individual is vitally important. The Jews had an extremely challenging task ahead of them as they stood in the desert planning their entry into Israel. While there were many men standing before Moses, God instructed him to count every single person, rather than considering them as one big group. I think of this as a puzzle. If every piece is not accounted for, the puzzle doesn't work. But when you place that last piece into the puzzle, the whole picture comes together. Another lesson that we can learn from this Torah portion is that the lineage passes from God to Jacob to the 12 tribes of Israel. Though it may seem as if all of the tribes are different because they eventually end up in different lands, without each other, there would be no Bnei Yisrael. All of the 12 tribes make up our people, just like a puzzle. This portion made me wonder many things. What am I going to do in my life that will make me worth being counted? Have I already done it? Now that I am a bat mitzvah, will it happen now? Will it happen in my work life, Jewish life, or even family life? Family life has such an important role to me and will always be a priority. I have also thought about, would I as a female have been worthy of being counted while in the desert? Being a child, maybe not, but now that I have become a bat mitzvah, this question will be answered differently. Why weren't the females counted, and where were they? Why were they not important? What was their role? Were they less important than the warriors? Would we have made it into Israel without them? As a female, I don't think so, because women are strong and are the brains of the fight, while the men are the warriors. And without the brain, the warriors couldn't handle the stress and would get distracted. This is just like my dad, who needs my mom to function. If every single Jew matters and women are Jews, were they really counting everyone? A bigger question in modern times is, are the Jewish people complete without the wide diversity of Jews that exist in the world today? I believe that we as a people are stronger when we include all colors in the community. Everyone should be considered perfect as they are. Nobody should have to change to fit in. If you change, you aren't being the best that you can be and aren't the right fit for the puzzle. Becoming a bat mitzvah signifies that I am now an adult in the Jewish community. This means that I have larger responsibilities to fulfill. I plan to be more engaged in services, volunteer in organizations that help the sick and needy, and stay involved in Jewish programs. To me, becoming a bat mitzvah is helping not make just our community, but the whole world a better place. As an adult in the Jewish community, I will continue the traditions of hanging a mezuzah on my door and always belonging to a synagogue. I would also love to make new traditions to carry on to my children that continue to get passed down for generations, such as building a sukkah or making challah for Shabbat. I wish to spend all of the Jewish holidays with my family and will be sure to raise Jewish children too. Some of the most important Jewish values to me are making children happier and sharing time with them so that they can live happy and meaningful lives starting when they are young. Doing these deeds for kids is so fulfilling because it helps them know that they have a lot to offer, even if they think they don't. I have demonstrated that this is an important part of my life by participating in my mitzvah project. For my bat mitzvah, I volunteered at the Mary Hall Freedom House and completed arts and crafts projects with the children living there. Their mothers are receiving help to get their lives back on track because they have been through a lot. It was a very fun and meaningful experience for me, and I think the boys and girls had a great time too, possibly because I brought plenty of snacks. Helping and making sure the kids were happy during my volunteering sessions connected me with my Torah portion. In circumstances like these, I feel like one of the Levites, who is helping make sure the people, or in my case the kids, are happy, even if they are going through a hard time. Now that I am able to help the community, I want to help Israel too. I learned so much about it while visiting there 5 years ago, and know I will learn so much more when I get to return. Learning about Israel will continue to help me educate others about many incredibly important parts of our heritage and further connect me to our land. During the process of becoming a bat mitzvah, I had a lot of help along the way. First, I would like to thank my grandparents for being so supportive of me during this experience. Gaga and Papa, thank you for giving me positive advice and always taking us for vegetables, also known as ice cream. Shh, don't tell Mom and Dad. Thank you, Nana, for always playing games with me, telling me jokes at Passover Seders, and helping me stay calm when we got stuck in an elevator. Even though you aren't here today, thank you, Poppy, for always informing me about what is going on in the world and always having cherry water at your house. I know you would be super proud of me if you were here today. Thank you to Rabbi Spike, Rabbi Max, Rabbi Rachel, Cantor Desnick, and Dr. Gummer for your help and guidance along this journey. I would also like to thank Mrs. Joanne, my amazing tutor, for making learning my Torah portion fun and enjoyable. Annie, thank you so much for always making me laugh and smile. Rollerblading, making TikToks, and trying on clothes with you is always so much fun. We argue over the most ridiculous things, but know that I still love you, even if I don't show it all the time. Thank you for being patient when having to listen to all of the talk about moving my bar mitzvah date so many times. It's gotta be hard being a little sister, so thank God I don't have to be one. I love you. Mom, thank you so much for always standing by my side. I appreciate your ongoing patience and willingness to help me with school, even though you never know what I'm learning about. You always encourage me to be the best that I can be. Thank you, and I love you. Dad, thank you for being one of the funniest people I know. Thank you for helping me write this speech and for always making jokes along the way. Thank you for watching funny movies with me and falling on the floor laughing when there's a funny scene. Thank you for always protecting our family. I love you so much. I would also like to thank coronavirus for getting me a puppy no matter how much it has affected our lives. Oh, and I can't forget to thank the clothing gods for letting my dress from a year ago still fit today. Finally, I would like to thank all of my friends and the rest of my family who have helped me get to this day. I couldn't have done it without you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. So, Molly, I don't think anybody has a doubt that we just heard from a young woman up on the bima. Those were beautiful adult words, and I especially like your questions that you just put out there, because as you're saying each one, I'm like, well, do we? Should we? Perfect. This journey that our people were taking, it was a journey, and maybe what was done at the beginning of the journey wasn't what was done in the middle or at the end. We're part of a process, one step in front of the other, and you certainly are asking the right questions with a little bit of a little bit of tude in there also, like, oh, okay, they didn't do it, and you should be asking those questions. So I'm very proud, and way to go for bringing up some of those issues. Friends, we're going to turn to our Haftarah, and your Haftarah blessings are on page 36. The Haftarah that Molly's going to be reading is Hosea, the prophet Hosea, 18 to 22, the verses. Hosea was the prophet that, apropos what you're talking about, Molly, demanded that we remember that we are more than each individual moment that we're in, that we are more than our base instincts, that we as a community have tremendous potential if only we would remember it and stand up straight and make choices to bring the world from where it is to where it ought to be. Friends, page 36.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratza v'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'nvi'eh ha'emet v'tzedek. V'haya v'yom hahu ne'um Adonai tikrei ishi v'lo tikrei li od bali v'hasirotim et shemot ha'be'alim mipicha v'lo yizachru od b'yishmam v'charati lahem beri v'yom hahu im chayat hasadeh ve'im of hashamayim ve'remes ha'adama ve'keshet ve'charev u'milchama yishbor min ha'aretz v'hishkevatim lavetach ve'erestich li le'olam ve'erestich li betzedek u'v'mishpat u'v'chesed u'v'rachamim Ve'erestich li be'emunah, ve'yadat et Adonai.
Good.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, Zur kol ha'olamim, Tzadik bekol hadorot, Ha'el ha'ne'eman, Ha'omer ve'oseh, Hamdaber umkayem, Shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, Al ha'torah, ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al hanvi'im, ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, Shenatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, likdusha v'limucha, likvod ultifaret. Al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, umvarchim otach, yibarashimcha befi kol chai, tamid leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch Hu,
Baruch Shemo.
Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Friends, let's rise on page 39 for Eitz Chaim.
Eitz Chaim hi
Ilamak chazikim ba v'tochecha meushar derachecha darchei noam v'chol netivotecha shalom hashivenu Adonai
elecha
v'nashuva Kadesh Kadesh Yamenu Kadesh Yamenu Kekedem. Please be seated. So, Molly, you've heard us say this before, but it really is worth repeating. Of all the things that we as rabbis get to do here at Temple Emanu-El, including Friday night services and high holidays and weddings, what we've been doing with you for the past many, many months is really our favorite thing. And that is to get to know you at a very deep level and to study what's called Torah Lishma, study for the sake of higher thought or higher thinking. Certainly those who know you well probably know that you're smart and that you're funny. You get that from your parents. But what they may not know, because they may not have an opportunity to know it, is that you're very deep. You've got a real depth to you. And not just for a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old, but for anybody, for an adult. And depth, having depth, either you have it or you don't. We can't teach that to you. And you have it. The way that you were able to delve into not just the Torah portion, but the different lessons surrounding it, including some of our conversations about the traditions and the rituals, certainly shows that you have the ability to have empathy, to put yourself into a contemporary historical context, and to see things for more than what they are at their surface level. And you and I spoke a little about this, but in this context, it's going to, I think, strike home. Your grandparents, in some ways, built this synagogue for this moment. Built this synagogue for this moment. That their grandchild would be here leading us in prayer, showing us that she is ready to take on the responsibility and privileges of leadership, and doing so with both poise and grace in the sanctuary that they built. Around you, all around you, Molly, you can swivel your head and you'll see all sorts of symbols. Right? If you look behind you, you see the American flag and the Israeli flag. Behind you, you've also got our different Torah scrolls and an ark with the 12 tribes symbolized with their flags. Above you, you've got the Ner Tamid. You've got the eternal light of the Jewish people symbolized in Jacob wrestling with the angels. 10 commandments on either side. And yet, the living piece of this picture, your family, mom, dad, grandparents, cousins, your community, friends, all here in person and online. And in the middle of it all, really balancing it all, not just the physical space, but the time, going back millennia and balancing, God willing, millennia in front of us, is you in this moment. You talk about the census. What does it mean to be counted? To be counted for what? And part of what you are figuring out through the Jewish lens is what is it that you want to stand up and be counted for? What is it that you're going to demand to be counted for? Giving a nod and respect to the tradition and the stories that have gotten us here, and the people have gotten us here, but also looking forward. How are you going to lead your generation, my generation, your grandparents' generation into the future with the questions and the answers that you've got? So I'm thrilled to be a part of your life, Molly, and your family's life, and so excited for all of the simchas that we have ahead of us. And we are very, very proud of you and who you have turned out to be and where you're going.
Hi, Molly.
Hi.
So, as I've heard you lead us today, I was thinking to myself, that it was pretty beshert that it was meant to be that your bat mitzvah was today and not sometime last year, because I don't think this service would have looked the same. I know it would not have looked the same. That in those extra months, you have had the chance to grow so much as a person, in your confidence, not only of what you were doing for our service, but what you do when you walk around and into any room. And Molly, I want you to hold on to that confidence that you brought to us today. Whether or not your knees are actually shaken behind the podium or not, you have presented yourself with a commanding presence. And we have bar and bat mitzvah kids adults lead our congregation because we know you can do it and we trust you. And this is oftentimes, for people your age, the very first time that you get to be up in front of a room as the leader. You're teaching the youngest person here, you're teaching the oldest person here, and everybody in between. So Molly, keep teaching us. Keep those ears and your mind open to learning. Stop by my office anytime for extra commentary on women in the Torah. And may you be more than blessed.
So now Rabbi Rich and I get to bless you as our Levites, our priests, have done since the beginning of time with the priestly benediction. I'd ask everyone to rise, please.
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yahir Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's countenance shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisar Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May God's face turn towards you and grant you, Molly, the greatest gift of all. Your feet on the ground, surrounded by the people who love you, love you, love you. Your tradition holding you up, strengthening you, with your whole life ahead of you, opportunities, a sense of completeness, and a sense of peace. We say,
Amen.
Amen. I would ask everyone to be seated, unless your mom and dad, and then you're going to come on up and say some nice words.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Again, I just want to start by echoing Molly's sentiments and thanking all of the people that made tonight happen. Thank you to the clergy for coaching Molly through this, for what ended up being an extended period of time. To our family for traveling to Atlanta in the middle of a pandemic. and to all of you for joining us virtually tonight. It was April 28th, 2007, a date that no one in the greater Chicago area will ever forget. This was the morning the city awoke to a powerful scream, like an alarm clock, or better yet, a pterodactyl, coming from the walls of Prentice Memorial Hospital. Molly Marcus had arrived. Fast forward nearly 14 years later, where tonight, Molly, you used that same powerful voice as you became a bat mitzvah. The day that you were born, Mom and I felt like the luckiest people in the world. And tonight, Molly, we feel that exact same way again. The word pride doesn't even come close to describing how we feel right now. You conquered this challenge, and you earned this bat mitzvah. We are not just proud of you, we are inspired by you. You've waited for this day, not once, not twice, but 3 times over. And by watching you manage this crazy year, we have learned the meaning of the word resilience. You have amazed us with your ability to be flexible, absorb the disappointments, and truly make lemonade out of lemons. It's absolutely surreal to be standing here tonight where I stood exactly 32 years ago as I became a bar mitzvah. The only difference is that back then I was standing on a wooden box right there to get rid of this beam. But look at me now. Molly, we are so glad that you insisted on having your bat mitzvah inside this synagogue, because this place, this sanctuary, has profound meaning to our family. Within these walls, we have collectively celebrated consecrations, confirmations, attended preschool, and those Tony Award-winning plays, including the one where we vividly remember you belting out, "Hello, Mr. Turkey, how are you?" In this place, we had the honor of watching the writing of a Torah, volunteered at the Mary Hall Freedom House, watched Poppy stand with the Torah as past president, and here we honored him at his funeral. Molly, this place exemplifies the highs and the lows, the sometimes roller coaster of life. But this, tonight, is certainly one of those highs. May this be one of 1,000 high points for you to celebrate in your life. I promised you, Molly, that I would keep this short. So I won't read the 3 paragraphs that I wrote about your ancestors and what got you here today. Just know that your foundation has deep roots, and that your grandparents and great-grandparents are right in front of you, and they're right behind you, beaming with pride as they hand you the torch that you now carry. Okay, almost done. You still with me? Okay, good. Here's the good part, where we say lots of nice things about you. Molly, you are bright, you are inquisitive, and you are determined. You are motivated, you reach for the stars, and your potential is limitless. You are fun, and you are funny. You have an awesome sense of humor and fantastic taste in movies. Your smile lights up the room, and your laughter is contagious. You are inclusive, and you are friends with everyone. You are a strong Jewish woman, which you certainly come by naturally from a long lineage of strong Jewish women. You are loyal, genuine, and you are honest. You are independent, and you are resourceful. You are quite the planner and quite the rule follower. We also wonder where that came from. You are organized, and you have an outstanding work ethic. You are a natural leader, and you lead by example. You are respectful and respected. You are confident, and you know who you are. You are truly a happy person, as long as you like what's for dinner. And you have a positive energy that makes people want to be with you. Bottom line, We really like you, and we love being around you. All we can ever wish for you, Molly, is that one day you will have the opportunity to feel the joy that we feel as your parents. Molly Marcus, we love you more than you will ever know.
Okay, stay right up there, please. Friends, we're going to rise for Elenu on page 40. Annie, will you come on up as well? And this amazing close family, we're going to ask you to go and open the ark together as we pray Elenu on page 40. Annie, go ahead and open the ark.
Aleinu l'shabech l'adon ha'kol, l'teitkenu l'yotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamona, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lifnei Melech Malchei HaMelechim HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'ne'emar V'haya Adonai L'melech Ol Kol Ha'aretz Bayom Hahu Bayom Hahu Yeh Adonai Echad U'Shemo 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 Close the ark. Okay, friends, we can be seated. Family, please come to the bima. So, friends, in a moment, we're going to recite the Mourner's Kaddish, which is on page 41. Molly, Rabbi Rachel, and your dad talked about those who have loved you and who are no longer with us, being in the room, being in the sanctuary. And by mentioning their names as part of the Mourner's Kaddish at the end of our service, we actually elevate this time even more. We raise it up even higher. We follow the Mourner's Kaddish with a rendition of Oseh Shalom, which starts slow but then gets a little bit faster, because in the singing and their mentioning of their names, we both mourn and celebrate their lives and who they were to us and how happy they are as we imagine that you are who you are and doing what you're doing today. Your family on this day remembers, of course, Steve Marcus, Helen Lipsky, Jack and Harriet Liebman, Morris and Ruth Marcus, Ruth and Irving Stein. For those who are with us either in person or online, if you are in the Shloshim period of mourning, the first 30 days after a loved one's passing, we ask you to rise now. Remain standing. If you're in the first year of mourning a loved one's passing, we invite you to rise now and remain standing. If you are commemorating the yahrzeit, the death anniversary of a loved one's passing this Shabbat, we ask you to rise now and remain standing. And if it is your custom to rise either in solidarity or for those who have no one to say Kaddish for them, we invite you to do so now, to please rise. Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 41. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shmei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirotei v'yamlich malchutei, chayechon yomechon u'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, aglav yizman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya, Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitala v'yitala shmei d'chutsha b'richu la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbacharta v'nechamata damiram b'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imru mav uya aseh shalom
Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru. Amen.
Oh, say
Shalom, b'imru ma'afu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru. Amen. Say shalom, b'imru ma'afu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimeru.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. And to transition us from Shabbat into the rest of our week, we will carry on with our service of Havdalah. So family, if you will slide, and just like we practice, get that Havdalah candle lit. And I forget who was picking up the Kiddush cup, but go ahead and do that, and pick up the spices as well.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen, borei pari hagafen. Bam ba da 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 da, bam ba da 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 da, ya da 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 da. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Our spices.
Borei mi'orei. Take a sniff. Borei mi'nesami. Bam ba da 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 da, bam ba da 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 da, ya da 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 da. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei me'orei ha'esh, borei me'orei ha'esh. Bam ba da 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 da, bam ba da 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 da, ya da 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 da. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavdil ben kodesh lechol, hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. So we're going to extinguish the Havdalah candle into the Kiddush cup.
Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol, chatoteinu hu nimchol. Zarenu v'chaspenu yarbeh kachol, v'chakochavim b'layla.
Shavua tov, 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 Shavua tov. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. A good week, a week of peace, may gladness reign and joy increase. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Abiladi.
Bimera
ve'yameinu, yavo aleinu, Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David.
Shavua Tov, everyone.
Shavua Tov. Stick around for our montage, but first a little bit of Simon Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Simon Tov, Simon Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Simon Tov, Simon Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Mazel Tov, a Simon Tov. Hey lanu, Yehei lanu, Yehei lanu, Uvechol Yisrael. Hey lanu, Yehei lanu, Uvechol Yisrael. Hey lanu, Uvechol Yisrael. Yehei lanu, Uvechol Yisrael. Mazel tov, everybody.